Hey everybody, happy Halloween. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm your Kelly Barrett, host of Etc. on the Vibe Live. Super excited today. We've got a guest from one of my favorite bands. The lovely and talented Sandy Horne from the Spoons is with us. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
On Halloween.
Right? I contemplated dressing up. And then
Well,
I
I
was
have
like,
the orange for Halloween behind me here. This is my kitchen.
there you go, there you go. You're dressed as a rock star, Sandy. It's all
That
good.
I'm in black. So, you know.
Me too. So much to talk about today, Sandy. There's some really cool new projects coming up for the Spoons that we're going to get to here in a second.
Okay.
I was so excited to have you on, Sandy, because you represent to me in a huge way the 80s, which are really literally some of the best days of my life. I love that era. I love the music, the clothing, and so grateful that you've been able to have this long career, and people still want to hear your music and you're coming out with new stuff. And weren't those really the best days, though? Don't you
Oh,
think?
yeah. Talking about Halloween, Gord refers to the 80s between all the hair and the makeup, and the guys were wearing makeup to 10 years of Halloween.
Right. I remember I toured with the band, and I remember all the guys would do their makeup every night before the show, just like
Eyeliner, yeah. Yeah.
And I miss those days because I think back then, Sandy, the band looked like the band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so let's go back a little bit. Like we do have some exciting new things we want to talk about, Sandy, but do you want to I always like to get a backstory on an artist because I'm always curious, when do you decide you want to get into this business? How does that happen for you?
I think for everybody it's different. For myself, I've always known as far back as I can remember as a young child, 3 years of age, that I wanted the stage. I was always hamming it up. I was always learning songs. I was always dancing, singing, and it was Judy Garland that got me going in music. I watched The Wizard of Oz when I was 3, 4 years of age and her singing. And I turned to my dad and I said, I want to do what she do.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
so ever since I was 3 or 4 years of age, so my dad would get me into little local plays and things. So I've been on the stage since I was about 5 years of age, modeling. Oh, I was a Buster Brown model. You remember the Buster Brown clothes back in the 60s and 70s? Yeah, I was a Buster Brown girl.
So you were styling as well as being musical, hey?
Yeah. I was into fashion before I knew what fashion was.
Right. And how cool that you had parents that were willing to foster that, that saw that in you, that was what you were driving to do, and that they would, support that. And at age 3 with The Wizard of Oz, I was sitting here thinking, when I was 5, that movie terrified me.
I was terrified. I couldn't watch it alone, but I had to listen to her sing. So, I was watching her sing every time. So I was like, okay, the scary part's gone. Now she's singing. It's a good part now.
It's all good again now. Yeah. And then so how does it progress from there?
Oh, from there, when I got to high school, I was on the gymnastics team. Plus, I was in the high school band, and I had to make a decision because they rehearsed at the same time after school. So I decided to do music because being a gymnast, your career isn't that long. And that's when I met Gordon Depp of the Spoons. He was playing first sax, and he's 2 grades below me, so I was playing third trumpet in the high school band. And he had a band called Impulse. And on a trip to another high school to play in Arnprior, Ontario, there was 2 acoustic guitars on the bus. And I had the girls up at the front doing Olivia Newton-John and country songs and that kind of thing. And Gord was in the back doing Robert Fripp and Genesis. And eventually the guitars got together and he said, here, play these root notes on the 4 lower strings on the acoustic guitar. And I went, okay. And then the drummer in the high school band, Gary Kennett, and him had the band Impulse. And they said, do you want to be our bass player? And I went, sure, I'll have to ask my dad. That's how it started.
Crazy.
So our first band was Impulse, which was mostly a cover band. And then Gordon and I parted from that about a year and a half later and formed a band called Tryst, which was kind of a prog self-indulged band with 8-minute epic songs that had time signatures, very complicated, not easy listening. And so we were basically basement band. It didn't play anywhere. And from there, we took the best bits of that and we formed the Spoons with Brett Wickens, who was the original keyboard player. And we had, the old home organs where you had that. That was our drum machine. That was our very first drummer. And that's how the first Spoon songs were formulated, because we didn't have a drummer yet. And then Derek Ross moved to Burlington from somewhere else with his two other brothers, because he's a triplet. So our drummer was a triplet. And he played drums, and he was in the high school band. So we asked him if he wanted to be the drummer. So the original lineup was Gordon, myself, Brett Wickens, and then Derek Ross. And after we recorded our first single called After the Institution, which got us our record deal on Ready Records, Brett decided he wanted to move back to England and be a painting artist. He didn't want to really play live. And that's when Rob Bruce came on board. And Rob Bruce was only 15 at the time. So he had to get letters of permission to be on stage, especially in bars when he was that young. So that's how we started.
And probably just hanging out in the kitchen on the breaks, right? Because I've seen bands like that before where they have somebody that's too young, and so they're forced to just like leave the room when the band isn't playing.
Well, here's an obstacle. We were playing in Halifax one time, and we were backstage, and Rob couldn't come out front in any way. We were all of legal age to be able to be in that area. He could be on the stage, but he could not be out anywhere in the bar. So he's backstage, but there were strippers that went on before us. This was back in the beginning days. So he's hanging out in the back with women that are not dressed. And we're going, how does this work?
Just thinking, yes. I'm hanging out with I can't be in the bar where the booze is, but I can hang out with half-naked women. This is all good.
Yeah. And I'm going, this doesn't quite work.
Doesn't make sense. But Sandy, you were fortunate in the Spoons in the very beginning. You had the privilege of working with some pretty big name producers. I know that with one of your albums, you worked with then unknown Daniel Langlois.
Yeah, our first album was at Grant Avenue Studios, which he and his brother owned in Hamilton, and he engineered our first album, Sick of Your Neighborhood. And that was before he took off and did all the great things he's done. So yeah, that was our beginning days. And then John Punter, who did Roxy Music in Japan, he did our first album, Nova Heart. And then we went on tour with Culture Club, and touring with Culture Club in New York at the Palladium, Nile Rodgers came out with Sting, and to see both bands, because at that time we'd been had joined A&M Records, which the Police were on. And he came backstage and said, I really like you guys. I want to produce your stuff. That's how it happened. He just happened to come backstage, and he really liked us. And that's where the Talkback album and Tunnel Lies and Romantic Traffic came from.
Is that right, eh? What a crazy backstory. And so do you think it was Nova Heart maybe that kind of set you guys next level and made you more of a household name? Would you say that was
definitely it was Nova Heart.
Yeah.
And it still is Nova Heart to the great degree. I mean, Romantic Traffic did really well as a crossover tune as far as all stations were concerned. But Nova Heart was definitely the breaking point, and Nova Heart's the one that keeps coming around, and it gets put in movies and that kind of thing,
Yeah, it's just, what is it like? And I just love this question, and I ask it all the time. Where are you the first to hear that song on the radio, and what goes through your mind?
It's very cool. It was very cool, to say the least. It had just been released, and it was climbing the charts on the radio, and at that time we had a cassette, Gordon and I, and we were driving down New Street in Burlington, Ontario. And as we're driving along the street, we're listening to Nova Heart, and it ends on the cassette. So I pop it out of the cassette player. Gordon's driving, and I turn the radio on, and Nova Heart's still playing. And I'm looking at it and going, what? So I heard another station that was being played on another station. We're like, what? And then there's a guy walking down the street with the Arias album in his under his arm, all at the same time.
Crazy.
And we're like,
Crazy.
what? And that's
What
when we
did
kind
that
of
must
like, okay, this is going to be something.
this
we
is
went,
this is
yeah, because we went from playing bars in Toronto to, you know, a couple hundred people, whatever. And then that would be May-ish. And by July, we were playing Ontario Place at the Forum to 13,000 people.
wow.
It just went.
Wow. And rightfully so. And I mean, you know, here's a question for you. I was thinking about this morning, you know, thinking about the 80s, and you know, there was so much work back then, and it was such a different time, and it really is my favorite era of all. Do you ever, I'm gonna have to make sure that I word this properly, because I personally sometimes wonder what the fate of music down the road is, because I kind of feel like some of the best artists came out of that era, you know, the 80s and 90s, and they're the artists that seem to have such longevity, you know, such as the Spoons. People still want to hear them. They want to hear new stuff. They love the old stuff. I heard Romantic Traffic on the radio twice this week on our local radio station.
Oh, cool.
I guess my question, there's a question in here, I promise. I guess I worry sometimes that it'll never be the same, that music will never have that type of, and you know, maybe every generation says that about their music.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering that myself too, because I mean, there are some amazing artists out there like Adele and Billie Eilish and so forth that are so brilliant in their work, and they're true musicians. But there is the problem I find with some music that's out today is because there's so much availability to loops and downloads and samples and so forth. Sometimes being a true musician, I mean, they can't transfer it live. They can't play it live. I mean, they may have created this thing on the computer and created these WAV files and so forth, but ask them to play it live. That's a different story.
Right. And I would agree with you. And I think, and it's not that there aren't some new artists out that have incredible music, and that's not at all what I'm saying, but I think with the access to the internet and what you just spoke of how easy it is to electronically fix music, and like, I guess I worry that when our generation is gone, what's going to be left? Because, you know, we're losing, you know, the people that are older than you and I are, you know, like the David Bowies and the Charlie Watts and the, you know, that whole generation of these mega superstars, you know, one day aren't going to be here. And I just wondered if it was just me that thought that. And I thought, I'm going to pick Sandy's brain and ask her about that too, because you know, I would agree, not all of these artists can perform live.
Yeah.
You know, something about the old school.
Yeah, but there is a generation now, like, for example, like my daughter and kids that are even younger, that they're picking up the ukulele, they're picking up the acoustic guitar. It's suddenly becoming cool again, where it wasn't cool, say 5-10 years ago, right? So there is that. And like my nephews, they're just 20 and they play a trumpet and trombone, and they're right into jazz. So there is a generation of kids out there. So I feel secure that we're still going to do okay.
We're going to be all right. Well, we're getting some comments in here, Sandy, already. So John DiBattista is just saying, hi, Sandy.
Hi. Hi, John.
Perry Boyko says, hi, Callie and Sandy. Saw you at Rock the River in Saskatoon. Awesome bass playing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Perry's a great fan of the show. And, you know, I miss seeing Barry, but you and I had a chance to meet at Rock the River.
Yes, we did. That was nice.
And get some photos taken. Yeah, that was such an amazing event. We were just talking about it before the show, you know, after being, you know, cooped up and not able to do anything, that, you know, being able to go to Rock the River and meet a lot of the guests that I've had on the show and meet a future guest with you and Gord. Boy, that felt nice.
Sorry, Gord couldn't make it today. He's actually flying back from the States because he also plays with Flock of Seagulls. So he's down there doing some dates with them. Right. So I think he's flying back today. So he couldn't make it. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. Another time.
Yeah.
Richard Bruce must be a Maritimer because he's saying go Maritimers.
Go.
Thanks, Richard. Okay, Perry is just saying you're exactly right. You need to play it live, even recording it live. Like, basically, he's agreeing with what you were saying there. And so, so I'm just curious, Sandy, after the, you know, the lockdowns of the last couple of years, and was Rock the River your first foray back into the live entertaining?
No, actually, well, it was our first large one. But
Right.
we even the previous summer, we'd managed to find interesting ways to perform live and reach our audience. One of the things we did, we were on a pontoon boat, Gordon and I, and we played just as a duet on a pontoon boat going down the lock system in Bob Cajun area at Lock 47 or something. And people were along the edge of the lock as the audience, and we were playing our songs, and we ended up making it on CTV News and stuff, like just doing weird things. Another one we played on an island. The guy had a wonderful large island, so he's allowed to have 100 people on it. Not this past summer, but the summer before,
Right.
when COVID was, in its initial stages still. And we raised money for Ronald McDonald House.
Nice.
So yeah, we found really interesting ways. Another thing we did, we played at a golf course outside under, a tarp. And
Right.
again, it was a fundraiser for the homeless, and they raised over $10,000. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, we
That's
found money
incredible.
interesting, but definitely Saskatoon Rock the River Festival was the biggest for sure. So
Right.
hopefully next
Right.
summer
And
we
yeah,
get back out
yeah.
there.
No, that was a great time for sure. So
Hey,
I'm just curious, Sandy. Go
we
ahead.
hadn't been in Saskatoon or Saskatchewan in probably 30 years.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. We've been in
Yeah, no,
Alberta, but we hadn't made it to Saskatchewan. So, yeah.
right. I was just thinking about some of the songs, the hits that people still want to hear, and they're still so relevant today. Nova Heart, Old Emotions. I think that's one of my favorite ones. Oh, and what have we got here?
This is our greatest hits package that just came out. It's a double vinyl, everybody.
There
Yep.
you go. Speaking of which,
It's called Repeatable, and it's a collaboration of all of our hit songs people know us for, plus some other ones that were interesting tracks that people liked. There's a total of 19 tracks, I believe, on the vinyl, and there's also, it comes out in CD and downloadable, so on all the download platforms. So we're really
great.
proud of that. Yeah, it's taken us a
Right.
long time to get this out, because for the longest time, our two albums, Bridges Over Borders and Vertigo Tango album, were kind of in the vault at Anthem Records, and we couldn't get access to them. And finally, we were able to get the masters to be able to get at least the hit songs off of our old stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Well, that is super exciting. And, I'm wondering, Sandy, speaking of the new album, of the remakes what does the writing process look like for Spoons?
It varies. It really, really varies. Gord will sometimes have lyrics ahead of time, or I'll have a bass riff and then I'll bring it to him and he'll say, "Oh, I can make that into a song." And then we'll work on a song together on it. Or he'll have a complete song, or I'll have a complete song. So there's no rhyme or reason. For example, I'll take an example, Old Emotions. He had the verse and he had the chorus, but he couldn't get them to link back together. And I wrote the
Right.
da 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 do 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 do, the link part,
Which,
brought it right
right.
around. And that's kind of like the magic of working with different people. And we've been working together now over 40 years.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we kind of know
No,
how to
well,
read each other.
right. And that song is so catchy. I think the do do do, that's what makes that song catchy. That's what makes it stick in your head. For sure it is. For sure it is. So we're going to get a couple more comments. So Richard Bruce wants to know if you ever played Lucifer's in Dartmouth.
It sounds familiar. I'm gonna probably say yes.
Chances are, hey, so
Yeah,
many
the
over
name
there.
sounds familiar, so I'm gonna probably say yes, unless there's more of them Lucifer's other places.
Right, right. And Peter Tam says that he went to school with Rob. He's saying doesn't seem too long ago when Rob and I went to Nelson High School.
Yeah, Rob went to Nelson, so I'm sure it's true.
That's great. Awesome. And so can you just let the viewers know who the current lineup is?
Okay, well,
Just send
myself
some
and Gordon Depp, the
Great.
original members, and then Scott McDonald's now on keyboards. He was with us during Bridges Over Borders and Vertigo Tango. He left for I think it was 18 years. And he and his wife were international teachers, so they were teaching over in Asian countries. all over the place. And then because their kids were going to university here, they decided to move back. And so we got Scott back on board after KCMQ was playing with us prior to that. And then we have Chris McNeil on drums now, who also plays with Glass Tiger.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Wow, great! What a great lineup, hey! What a fantastic lineup, yeah. And so, is there's something else? There's another newer album coming out too, isn't there? A new project yeah.
So this November 13th, we are playing the newly furbished Animal Combo in Toronto. It's a famous club, and it's been
I've heard of it.
It's owned by Mike Weckerly, who's from, I believe, the Dragon's Den or something years ago. Anyway, he's refurbished it. We are playing our release party November 13th there. And it's not only our release party for the Repeatable album, it's also a release party for what's called the Echoes album. And it's only coming out on CD and download, and it comes out on the 12th. So on the Friday, you can get it downloaded. And basically, it's a tribute by other artists to us of our songs. So we're not, well, I shouldn't say that, but we're mostly not playing on the album. It's other artists. So Larry Gowan did Arias and Symphonies. Alan Frew did Time Turns Around. Dale Martindale of Images in Vogue did Waterline. I got to put my glasses on to read some more of these. Sulphur, Rob Holiday, who also plays with Marilyn Manson and Prodigy. He did Bridges Over Borders, and that is a really heavy tune. If you want to hear some heavy, heavy sounds, he did a number on Bridges Over Borders. And basically, it started off by a band called Flex and the Foreshadow out of California. They wanted to do Old Emotions, and they're kind of a ska band. And then somebody else reached out to Gordon and said, you know, we'd like to do a version of Nova Heart. And then we got thinking, this would be really cool if we got other artists involved. And because there's so many artists involved on this album, we aren't going to be able to make any money, neither will the artists. So we're donating all the money to the net profits to Unison Fund. So for artists, the Unison, have you heard of the Unison Fund?
I have, yes.
Yeah. So it's for theater, it's for road crews, it's for artists that are trying to start, you know, especially since the pandemic, artists have been hurt so badly by this. So they can apply and get grants and so forth. So all the money is going to go to that for profit. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. Good on you guys. That's
coming out soon. It comes out the 12th. Yeah. So
that's great. You know, what an interesting different take on it to have other artists do your music for you. I think that is super cool.
Yeah.
You know, to hear other artists' renditions and
I did a version of Romantic Traffic too, myself.
Perfect. Yeah. And you know,
we're called Dagger and Knot.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's Icelandic. It means day and night. It sounds dagger and knot sounds like a knife and a knot, like tying a rope. Right. It's Icelandic for day and night.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, it sounds a little bit badass, but now that you explained it, yeah, that's and now only my viewers know what that really means. So that's very cool. So, Sandy, what do you see coming? You know, if you could wave a magic wand, where do you see your life in 5 years?
Well, as long as we're strong and healthy, we're going to keep playing until we can't play anymore. You know, I'd like to say I play to my dying day. You know, if it need be, as long as my hands, my throat, and everything else holds out, my brain.
Right, absolutely, and and people still want to hear this music, and I love, you know, when I get a Canadian icon who's just had this longevity, you know, 30, 40-year careers and still out there doing their thing. Was there any challenges for you back in the 80s as a woman? I was wondering that. Was it?
Yeah, there's moments that was
right.
Tough, yeah. Because back in the early 80s, I mean, playing the bass was still mostly dominated by the guys, right? Mm-hmm. And I had the constant comments that, oh, she doesn't play her bass parts on the album. And, she's a girl. She can't do that.
Wow.
She's token. I'm the token in the band.
The token girl, right?
I got told
Right.
once, you're more than just a Tootsie Roll. You're a Tootsie Roll that plays bass.
I don't know whether you say thank you or F off on that one, but
yeah, that's one of those things where you just sort of turn your back and walk away.
Yeah, exactly. Perry Boyko has a question here for you, Sandy. He said, okay. Kelly, here's a question for Sandy. Mm-hmm. One of my guitar students this morning, who's 11-year-old, played me some chord progressions that he wants to write a song. So today I worked on the song and with him and came up with an intro. And next week will be the recording debut. What advice would Sandy give an 11-year-old potential songwriter? Good question.
What you're doing, try and be as original as possible. It's okay to learn other people's stuff, figure out how they do it, but then you got to make it your own. Always make it your own.
100%. I would agree with you there. TL Neils, and he mentioned this when I was promoting this show earlier. He says, "Hi, Sandy. I love your old Spectre bass you used in the Old Emotions video. Do you still own it?"
Yes, I do.
I would imagine, right?
Actually, I only play Spectre. Nile Rodgers introduced it to me when we were doing the Talkback album. At the time, I was playing Kramer Metal Neck, which I really didn't like, and it was very, very heavy, and it gave me tendonitis in my shoulders. And while we were recording the Talkback album, Niall said, "Do you really like that bass?" And I went, "No, I don't." And he goes, "Okay, let's go down to your local music store," which happened to be Steve's Music at the time. And they had a Spectre bass there. And Bernard Edwards, the original bass player that he worked with for years, who's not recently, but has passed away, he was playing Spectre. And he said, "You got to try this bass out." So I did. It was black. We rented it. And I didn't really like having a black one. So I ordered a white one. And that's what I've been playing ever since. And now I have also a 10-year anniversary Spectre with gold plates, and I just don't travel with it too far because it's an anniversary bass. I don't fly with it. I flew with the Spectre to Saskatoon, but I wouldn't fly with this one just for safety reasons. It's very valuable. I love the Spectre.
Understandable. Sean Cahoon is a good friend of the show. He's saying, "Hi, I'm a Spoons fan from way back, just learning bass." Yeah. He just says he loves how melodic your playing is.
Oh, thank you.
So that's
when I learned to play bass, I didn't learn to play bass because I was listening to other bass players. I learned to play bass because I was a guitar player. So maybe my approach is slightly different than how someone who's picking up the bass for the first time, because I was already playing the acoustic guitar at the time.
Great. Good. Well, thanks for the comments and questions, people. What would you say, Sandy? What would, and this can be professionally or personally, what would you say your greatest achievement to date would be?
My greatest achievement to date? I'd say my kids.
Oh, how many kids do you have?
I have 2.
Oh,
I have a son who's in industrial design, and he lives in Vancouver right now, or BC. He's in Squamish, and he's actually working on he's working for a company called Nexi, and they make, it's kind of green cement. So when I say green, I mean in the sense that it's good for the environment. It's not as heavy, it breaks down and that type of thing. And in construction, so helping the environment that way. And my daughter is an RN. She lives in Toronto.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. I'm curious, when they were little, did they know that mom was a rock star?
Well, they did, and they were kind of embarrassed, especially when their teachers would recognize me. They'd go, "Oh, Mom, I'm so embarrassed." My son can play guitar, but he just didn't pursue it because he was more in the art form in design. Right. And my daughter is an amazing singer, and she was thinking about going down that route. But she said, "Mom, I've seen your life and the up and down roller coaster ride," and I said, "I'll just do it on the side." So she still sings, and she's got a little duet thing that she has going with another friend of hers. And
Right. Speaking of what your daughter said, that it must have been a lot to be juggling children and the road and this amazing career all at once. You must have been exhausted.
Yeah, I had nights where I was mummy dearest the next day. Where I had maybe 2 hours sleep, so I didn't get home until 1 in the morning. And
Right,
the husband
right.
passes the kids to you, and you go, "Oh, really?" No, yeah, but you're young, so you got the energy. I think if it's happening right now, I think I'd probably lose my mind.
Right, right, for sure.
You have the energy when you have kids when you're younger. There's a reason for that.
They're right, 100%.
But I
So
didn't have my I
Lee
didn't have my
Canfield,
kids. I didn't have my kids till I was in my 30s, though. I didn't, we were still heavily on the road in my 20s. So when the touring slowed down, that's when I had kids, and then it's kind of re-picked up again in the last 5 or 6 years.
right. Well, there was a real resurgence. There was the 80s, and then it kind of like in the 90s, like the grunge was taking over. But really,
Yeah,
in some ways, it only sparked a real interest for retro 80s.
yeah, and
You know,
now the younger generations are discovering the music, and we often have new artists approach us and say, "How did you get those sounds?" We want to get the sounds from that era, and we talk about the different keyboards that Rob used to use, the Jupiters and so forth like that, and the different
right.
samples you can get. Yeah,
Cool. It's cool how music can transcend generations. Like,
yeah,
there's, people now who listen to you and have been listening to you their whole life, and now their children, are listening to it. I just think that's amazing.
yeah.
Lee Camp is a really good supporter of the show, big fan, and he's saying Happy Halloween, ladies.
Oh,
He's really enjoying
really?
it.
Well, good.
It's Happy Halloween, Lee. He's enjoying the interview, so thanks for popping in. Yeah, Sean Cahoon is just saying awesome. So the comments are great that are coming in, and Sandy, I can't thank you enough for coming here today. And I just want the viewers to know that the new album that Sandy was just talking about, Sandy's website is scrolling along the bottom of your screen,
Yeah,
so
you can
you
get our
can
stuff too. Yeah.
music. Yeah, so check it out. Check out some of the new albums and just what's happening with the spoons. And do you want to just tell us the date again, Sandy, of the Alma Combo?
Yeah, it's November 13th, and there's still some tickets left. Not a lot because it's the venues don't open till the 15th, so we're limited
Great.
capacity still.
Okay, great.
And you have to
Good
be double
stuff.
that. So
Yeah, great stuff. I just want to thank everybody for their comments and questions. I want to take a second and give a big shout out to my best friends, Paul and Leanna Murray. They're celebrating 1 year of marriage today. They got married on Halloween last year because they're kind of Tim Burton-esque kind of crazy loving people.
awesome.
So we're right,
Happy
Halloween wedding.
Yeah.
Right, Sandy, I can't thank you enough, and I just, I can't wait to see what's going to keep coming, because I don't see any signs of you slowing down anytime soon. And
I'm actually working on an independent album too.
is that right? Hey,
Yeah. My husband and I have been working on it for years, actually, but I'm hoping this spring to get it finally released, because Gord keeps coming up with new ideas for the spoons, and it keeps taking over these projects. I'm like, can I
right.
this, please?
So the album could possibly be out in the spring.
Yeah.
Perfect. Will you come back when that album comes out and show it to us?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can do a little tune or something somehow, acoustically.
That would be amazing. Just acoustic, unplugged.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Sandy, just on behalf of everybody watching, I just want to say thank you so much for the music. That was like definitely the soundtrack to my misguided youth. and still is just so relevant and lovely. We love you. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, and if people go to our website and want to order anything, we will sign it for you if you wish to.
Really? Yeah, so if they go to the website that's scrolling the bottom, anything ordered you're going to sign that.
Yeah. After you make the order, if you just want to send us a link email, because there's a place where you can contact us and just say, hey, I just ordered this. Can you have it signed? I'll make sure it's signed. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's something you don't see very often, hey?
Yeah, well, it's because it's coming through us. If it was through another site or something, it wouldn't happen, right? So any record stores that are selling online or whatever that have our stuff, you won't get that. But if you go through our site, it will.
Great. Good to know. Well, it was great chatting with you today, Sandy. And I just wish you continued success, health, happiness, all things amazing. You're lovely. You're welcome back here anytime.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. It was awesome having me on.
Yeah, good stuff. You take care. Thanks so much, Sandy.
Okay, take care, sweetie.
Okay, bye. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, with that really cool interview with Sandy Horne. Stay tuned next week. I'm going to surprise you with the announcement after the show. Thanks again to Sandy Horne. Happy Halloween, everybody. Stay safe and sane until we see you next week. Bye-bye.